Now, I've talked about Once Upon a Time in pretty much my first video, and just on a side note, in that first video, the sound perspective, I do not talk like that. There's very little of my videos that is scripted, and the only ones that are were the uh, the sound perspective and the beginning of Tools for Tools, and but pretty much everything else is non-scripted, and you could probably tell because like usually when things are scripted, all the words are there, and I don't really have to think. I just have to kind of like read it, and when I'm not scripting, it sounds like I'm mumbling and I'm starting to think that maybe I should write scripts for everything I do. It's just that'll be a lot of writing and hopefully I hope to get better at just doing this like this on the fly rather than have to write everything, but whatever. Uh like despite what the sound perspective might made you think, it's really kind of like I guess you can say the sound perspective is pretty much kind of like an exaggeration of Confused Matthew's persona or whatnot, or at least trying to like make fun of it and whatnot. But this is the real me and whatnot, and I do kind of, and it doesn't mean that not everything that I say in the sound perspective isn't true. Like I do believe that the plot of the first season was bad. It just wasn't really. It really seemed like just like a miscommunication between writers and whatnot. It didn't really seem like one had one idea of what this curse was going to be, and the other one wrote it in a way that contradicts of what was actually going on, and just didn't make any sense. And it made the Regina's vengeance and victory worthless because it really wasn't, even though they were trying very hard to convince us that it was, and it just didn't work. But besides that, there was nothing else wrong with the show. I really uh, liked the show a lot. Um, the characters are really well done. All of them have their backstories. Not very few are lead to anything interesting. A lot of them are pretty much kind of like standard and whatnot. But so some of them have interesting a twist to them, like like with Ruby and whatnot. And there is certain twists here and there, but there's not a lot of the characters' backstories that really kind of I guess excites you or whatnot. Despite some of the twists, they seem very uh straightforward, that and whatnot. And probably the best character probably in this in the series is probably Rumpelstiltskin. I no matter what uh stupid plot or happens in that film, his character just refuses to yield. He, as far as the writing is concerned, as far as his backstory and the actor, he is virtually the best character in the world. And as far as I'm concerned, he has the best backstory in that show. It's basically a lot. The theme of Once Upon a Time is virtually about you know uh true love and how how that could like like come with a price and whatnot, and Rumpelstiltskin is probably the best example of that, because like when you first meet uh like Mr. Gold and or Mr. Gold slash Rumpelstiltskin, you really get the sense that this guy is kind of like a almost like a shady uh well, like a shady character who doesn't really um who pretty much works for himself, and pretty much uses other people. And as the show goes on, you realize that he's not really as bad as you would think that he is. And once you get his backstory, the how the complete of how he got the limp and lost his child and whatnot, and all of that is really is probably the most probably the most moving story that I virtually ever ever seen in that show. I really like where that character is going. The first season really did have its problems, but after the first season, it kicked off to a much better start. Now that the stupid curse is gone, pretty much everyone has their memories back, and which pretty much and they pretty much don't really remember what the 28 years of of living in the real world, which pretty much makes everything that Regina has quote unquote done to them useless, because now they don't remember. So yay, victory for her or whatever. Yeah, I know. I keep talking about the first season. It was bad. It was bad. But after that, after the first season, it did get get better. The uh the second season was definitely an improvement, and there were certain elements in that season, certain characters that I really liked, and some of them, the others just didn't really you know uh, do it very well, at least to for my satisfactions anyway. But the third season, uh, I think the third season of Once Upon a Time is probably the best season that they have ever done. If I were to pick any season now, I would watch that again in a heartbeat. I really like it, mostly because not to spoil anything, it really ties with Rumpelstiltskin's character, and his story, and and journey and whatnot is really really good, and the pretty much the climax, the conclusion of that story was really really good and whatnot, and but the other half of the third season, the later half with the Wicked Witch of the West, was only half as good. I mean, the first half of the season was just really, really good. It was the best. It was pretty much the best thing that they have ever written and ever done. And the other half pretty much kind of dipped down to kind of like the second season a bit. It really wasn't as good. Didn't really like. I didn't really think the Wicked Witch was really that good. I don't know. Her character and her motivations were at least serviceable and competent, but that was it. There was nothing popping at you and whatnot, and the kind of twist that that they went with the Wizard of Oz story was it was neat, but it wasn't interesting. I don't know. It just it didn't convince me at all, and it just wasn't really as good. Um, the fourth season, which is on now. Um, at this point, I can't really say much because there's only been like 4 episodes in or 3 episodes in, but it seems like they're leading off to a good start. There were like one or two things that I really liked about the fourth season so far, but at this point I can't really say that much because it's pretty much kind of started already. But yeah, I like the show a lot. I mean, the first season was bad, but apparently they were doing something right and they were successful enough to keep the series going. And the second series was an improvement. Uh, the third season, the first half of the third season was pretty much phenomenal. It was pretty much near flawless. The next half was pretty much just season two all over again. And then we have season four, which at this point I can't really say if it's really good or lives to the expectations of the first half of the third season or is just as good as the second season. I can't really say that, at least up to this point. But yeah, it's pretty much all I can ramble or think about rambling about of that show for now on. Yeah, thank you for enduring my mumbling, and be safe, and I'll see you around.